sign of the times that this
A global crisis calls for global partnerships, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo says, and explaining that if COVID-19 exists in any part of the world, it remains a significant threat to every part of the world. As the Vice President observes, Europe should work closely with Africa to ensure that when a vaccine is finally deployed, it should be made available at an affordable and an accessible manner. Vice President Osinbajo also speaks about Nigeria's efforts in mitigating the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the economy, noting that Nigeria's priority is to ward off a deep recession, while welcoming the debt servicing support initiative of the G20, which he says will no doubt bring some relief to relevant African countries. The Vice President, however, observes that it remains inadequate because it does not address the problem of commercial debt service obligations, and therefore calls on the European Union to lend its weight to this initiative, which he describes as very important for Africa.
There are, of course, many other matters on which Africa and the EU must continue to collaborate, and to which we must use the opportunity of this summit to move ahead on. Investment and trade, human capital development, and the proper management of migration are areas in which our partnerships should continue to be built. I'm confident that we will continue to deepen such relationships, which must continue to be anchored on enabling both regions to attain their social and economic objectives in an increasingly environmentally friendly and digital world.
The Euro-African Forum aims to foster stronger collaboration between Europe and Africa and better promote a shared green and inclusive growth, among other objectives. In the State House, Jude Onifade, NTA News.
Now, the coronavirus infection continues to spread across the world with more than 26 million confirmed cases in 118 countries. Let's join Uche Ugochukwu for an update on the pandemic globally.
Cases of coronavirus continues to surge in many countries. Some that had apparent success in suppressing initial outbreaks have seen infections rise again. Slovakia Saturday reported a spike of 226 cases, the biggest one-day rise in the Central European country since the start of the pandemic. The jump comes as neighbors in the region have also recorded rises in virus cases after the summer holidays and as students return to school. Similarly, the Czech Republic confirmed 798 new cases, which is its biggest daily rise so far, while Hungary reported a record 510 new cases. The global figure is now 26,917,743, with 881,897 deaths, according to the Worldometer coronavirus dashboard as at 6 p.m. local time. In another development, Australian police have made dozens of arrests amid anti-lockdown protests attended by hundreds in defense of tough measures that have been in place for a month. Data by the Coronavirus in Africa Tracker shows death toll in the continent has reached 30,857 out of the 1,284,619 confirmed cases. Nigeria accounts for 54,743 confirmed cases, from which 42,816 have recovered. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control Friday confirmed 156 new cases of COVID-19. That's the global update on the coronavirus pandemic. I am Uche Ugochukwu.
Thank you very much, Uche. The rehabilitated portion of a Rigachukun Bridge along Kaduna-Zaria Highway has again caved in, leaving commuters stranded Friday night. Abdullahi Mohammed reports that excavation work has begun on the damaged portion.
Couple of hours after the reopening of the Rigachukun Bridge, upon completion of remedial work, there was heavy rainfall yesterday, and that transition base once again caved in. Contractors are pointing to another hole that is on the other bridge, which is the alternative bridge that is being used by traffic right now, that is responsible for allowing water to flow into it and to the other transition bays which caved. Yesterday, thousands of commuters were stranded here as a result of impatience. I've spoken to the traffic managers. They told me that they've been able to diffuse that traffic at about 1 a.m.
There is a diversion, a detour, so that other people will be diverted to follow the other lane. And as you can see, we are still on it. And our men worked at this assiduously yesterday so that they can see that all other traffic follow the other direction.
With our ears on ground, we got the wind of a traffic standstill at Kao, Kaduna, which is a major confluence of vehicles from across the country. So we hit the road on a bike. Majority of those caught in the traffic mess were the articulated vehicles. The bone of contention was that a personnel of the Kaduna State Traffic Management Agency was alleged to have physically molested a truck driver. In protest, they did what they know best, blocking the road with their trucks. And the consequences were colossal. After hours of persuasion, they heeded. But commuters are not happy with their mode of protest.
I don't think they should go to that length. I think they should be humane. As much as they think about themselves, they should think about the other members of the society. I didn't know, I just came in and look at what I went through. I spent almost about 2 hours now before I get down to NTA. I had to trek on foot.
This is not the first time the truck drivers have protested in this manner, and observers say the authorities must act fast to put an end to this form of protest, which puts thousands in a difficult situation. In Kaduna, Abdullahi Muhammad, NTA News.
Office of the Surveyor General of the Federation and Office of State Surveyor General should provide information and products that will aid the achievement of sustainable development goals. Haman Jabani reports that this was part of the 10-point communique issued at the end of a 2020 virtual survey coordination conference with the theme Geospatial Information, Achievement of SDGs and Good Governance.
The communique indicated that surveyors are not involved in research to identify socio-economic challenges, and the Office of State Surveyor Generals yet to be upgraded to extra-ministerial status to layers with the ones that are already extra-ministerial, and the Office of the Surveyor General of the Federation for directives.
There is need to be able to improve or to review some of this curriculum, to be able to address the need and the challenges of geospatial information in our current environment, as to which that can really address the problem we have in the environment. Essentially, geospatial information should make governance easier. Essentially, geospatial information should actually advance development. Essentially, geospatial information should help decision maker to take good decisions, because geospatial information is an evidence-based support system that, when properly produced by well-trained and proper people, then you can now have accurate geospatial information in the correct quantity, format, and quality.
The conference also urged government and relevant authorities to encourage institutions offering surveying and geoinformatics to employ more lecturers to meet the required number of lecturers to students. Haman Jabani, NTA News.
Now, the first commercial aircraft has arrived at the international wing of the Murtala Muhammed Airport in Lagos. It is a Middle East airline with most passengers from the region. On arrival, passengers passed through document checks, including the mandatory presentation of a PCR negative test result for COVID-19. Now, this is in line with the mandate of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19.
Nationals who are expected to return with the flight to the Middle East are already boarding for takeoff. Both inbound and outbound passengers pass through document checks, including the mandatory presentation of a PCR negative test result for COVID-19. The COVID-19 pandemic has changed the mood of screening right from the drop zone down to the check-in counter, as a makeshift structure has been erected at the entrance to take care of hand washing, temperature checks, luggage fumigation, and physical distancing. The process, which are in stages, gives assurance of safety to passengers while the fight against the virus continues. Aside the Middle East airline, A British Airways aircraft is expected to depart for the UK later today, while 7 airlines will operate on Monday.
Now, September 5th annually is set aside to commemorate the International Day of Charity. Now, the day is geared towards celebrating Mother Mary Teresa's charitable acts and a way of promoting kindness and tolerance amongst people beyond cultural, religious and social beliefs. Wufai Ibo has the reports.
International Day of Charity was initiated by United Nations to increase and enhance social responsibility across the entire world, increasing our support for charitable causes and bringing everyone together in solidarity. The day presents an opportunity for everyone to get involved in charitable events. However, with the coronavirus pandemic around the world, and restriction on close interactions amongst humans, how then do we effectively engage in charitable acts?
There is every need for people that have to always find ways and means of supporting people that don't have. For us in Red Cross, what we do is to intervene where there is need in terms of humanitarian activities. Let's find ways and means of intervening and supporting where there is need, so that life will be better for all of us all over the country and all over the world.
The day also seeks to celebrate related activities of charity volunteer organizations and NGOs in their role in easing humanitarian crisis.
The Bible encourages charity. The sheep are those who attended to those in need. He said, I was hungry, you gave me food, I was sick, you visited me, I was in prison, you attended to me. He said, as long as you did it to one of these, you did it to me.
No matter how little it is, try and give out. Because as you said, Islamically, the Prophet has taught us in so many hadith, as a Muslim, try to give out, because it's a way of kind of avoiding so many evil elements around you.
Be reminded that simple acts of charity also helps build psychological well-being in human beings. Wufai Ibo, NTA News.
Now, vultures may not be the most attractive birds, but they are celebrated annually as very important animals on Earth. Rather unusual, you may say, but vultures happen to be cleaning agents needed for the balance of the ecosystem. Onengia Fiveface reports on how these birds help our planet.
In the words of Roger Tory Peterson, vultures are homely, but they clean up all the garbage, and that's good. Known commonly as scavengers, vultures feed on carcasses and clean up messes that humans would not dare to touch. The sight of vultures hovering in the sky often means one thing: there is a carcass around. They are feared, sometimes despised and dreaded, and in some climes, their existence is shrouded in superstitions.
Some persons believe that the presence of a vulture around you is an indication that somebody will die. That vultures are harbingers of death. Yet others believe that the body parts of vultures are good for ritual purposes.
Ironically, these rarely admired birds are seen by environmental scientists as nature's garbage disposers that keep the environment clean by devouring carcasses, a vital role needed for the health and balance of the ecosystem.
It's very useful to the environment in terms of what it does as a scavenger and its role in the food chain as the clearinghouse for the garbage or rubbish that we have in the environment and in nature, so that no dead animal is allowed to cause problems by polluting the environment further, because vultures will naturally take care of dead animals.
To conserve vulture population, raise awareness and educate the public about the ecological importance of this species, the first Saturday of September is set aside as International Vulture Awareness Day.
Without these vultures, we will have an outbreak of a lot of diseases. So despite the fact that some persons don't like vultures, the fact is that as humans, we need vultures.
The day was first observed in September 2009 in South Africa and the United Kingdom. In Abuja, Onengiye Fineface, NTA News.
All right, you're still watching the news on NTA International. We'll be right back after the break. Stay with us. Glad to have you back with us. The newly appointed chief executive officers for some agencies under the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture have been charged to come on board with positive ideas that will scale up efforts being made to build the nation's economy for sustainable growth. Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed gave the charge while addressing the new chief executive officers. Anthony Forson reports.
The chief executives, 9 in number, has 2 females, charging them to assimilate President Muhammadu Buhari's priority areas, which is guiding the administration. The Information and Culture Minister said focus is on building a thriving and sustainable economy, enhance social inclusion to reduce poverty, as well as enlarge agricultural output for food security and export, among others. Of particular relevance to the various agencies as it relates to culture and tourism, Lai Mohammed said the ministry has commenced work on areas that will position the sector through its ongoing reforms, just as it prepares to lift the creative industry from the COVID-19 impact.
The implementation committee we set up to look at the well-prepared Alibaba committee report on the creative industry, which was triggered by the COVID-19 pandemic, is currently working to provide the guidelines for lifting the industry in the post-COVID era.
The federal government, he said, is doing so much with little resources. Therefore, their efforts must be channeled towards promoting diversification of the economy.
Yes, we are diversifying the economy to reduce the dependence on oil. But the situation today has been worsened by the COVID-19 pandemic, which has stifled economies around the world. Yet, due to the deft management of resources, this administration is engaged in massive infrastructural renewal, whether in the areas of roads, bridges, rail or power.
The minister reminded them to keep up with the hard work that brought them this far for a call to national duty. Responding on behalf of his colleagues, Professor Sunday Ododo of the National Theatre expressed gratitude for the confidence reposed in them by President Muhammadu Buhari.
The letter testifies that this time we have chosen so well, because we have square pegs in square holes. The expectation is so high, and we cannot afford to fail you, sir.
Their appointments took effect from the 1st of September. In Abuja, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
The Director General, National Council for Arts and Culture, Olusegun Roshawe, has called on key players in the culture and tourism sector to work towards delivering a solid destination in Nigeria. The DG made the call while inaugurating the Creative Industry Post-COVID-19 Initiative Implementation Subcommittee in Abuja. Olinaya Kaloka reports that the committees are made up of 13 subcommittees.
At the virtual inauguration, the Director General National Council for Arts and Culture, Olusegun Roshawe, called on members of the committee to look at the impacts of the pandemic to the industry and provide solutions on how to move the sector forward.
Whatever government wants to do, we have involved every sector player. All these people have suffered a major setback during COVID-19. How best can we help them? This help could come from government but never get to them. But this time, under my leadership, it will get to the right people.
To articulate the challenges, a document by the council was presented to the members of the committee.
They are going to show us how many staff, how many people that they employ. It's there. The numerical strength, the challenges and way forward, everything is straightforward, short and long term.
So that as frontliners, we were also badly affected. And I know that because of the effect of COVID, most media houses no longer pay salary. Some pay half salary.
Members of the committee, drawn from the hospitality and tourism subsector, creative arts and media, are expected to submit their reports in the next 7 weeks. Oyinna Kalu-Oka, NTA News.
And more on politics now, as the All Progressives Congress APC has flagged off its governorship campaign for the October 10 election in Akure. At the rally attended by a number of APC governors, the party's governorship candidate and incumbent governor of the state, Oluwarotimi Akeredolu, while receiving the party's flag, said his mission is to consolidate on the positive transformation on the state. Abiola Ario reports.
It was a gathering that brought together political bigwigs in the party from across the country who came to affirm their support for the re-election bid of the incumbent governor, Oluwarotimi Akeredolu. Presenting the party's flag to the candidates, the chairman, APC Caretaker Committee, who is also the governor of Yobe State, Mai Malabuni, urged the people of the state to make the right choice by re-electing Akeredolu, saying his achievements are testimonies of his good works.
APC is united, is stronger, and we have the cohesion and the support to win this election peacefully.
Governor Akeredolu said he is determined to transform the state to an enviable height if given the opportunity.
If you are looking for evidence of commitment to an ideology of progressive governance, you need not go any further than what is already showing itself here in Ondo State. I want to say to you that Ondo State is receiving governance. Ondo State is receiving a progressive man.
The national leader of the party, Bola Tinubu, was also in Akure, where he met with traditional rulers from across the state who came to reaffirm their support for the re-election aspiration of Governor Akeredolu in Akure. Abiola Rio, NTA News.
Now, the People's Democratic Party National Campaign Council for Edo State governorship election has commended Oba Eware II, the Oba of Benin, for his fatherly intervention to ensure a peaceful and credible governorship election in Edo State. A statement from the Secretary of the Publicity Subcommittee of the National Campaign Council on Edo governorship election, Kola Olagbondiyan, says the party's campaign, as well as its teaming members and supporters across the state, are sure that they will continue to conduct their activities and campaign in very peaceful and orderly manner. It adds that the party's campaign team and members tremendously value the forthright admonition, reprimands, counsel and direction by the royal father, which is a reinforcement of the party's established and unwavering commitment towards peaceful electoral process, particularly in the Edo State governorship election. It further urges all stakeholders to allow their actions to be guided by the admonitions of the Oba of Benin, as well as other royal fathers in the state before, during and after the election. Away from politics now, demolition of illegal structures at the National Stadium Complex, Surulere, Lagos, continues as Ministry of Sports promises a befitting edifice. Lumide Oguntola has this and more on Sports Update.
As the first phase of the restoration of the National Stadium, Surulere, Lagos gradually comes to a close, the implementation committee has assured Nigerians that never will the facility degenerate to its present state, with the collection of data of occupants and strict adherence to the professional ethics of running all aspects of the facilities.
The committee has also taken it as part of their terms of reference
to ensure that guidelines on business activities, even sporting activities and administrative activities in this facility henceforth is put in place.
In another development, the original African Cup of Nations trophy, which replaced the one first won by Nigeria in 1980, has been declared missing by the Egyptian Football